First and foremost, I want to give all praises, glory, honor to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai. That's all praises to the Most High God in the name of His only begotten Son, who the Word inwardly calls Jesus Christ. It's the brother Aliyah from the Angels of Yahweh, South Carolina camp. Right, I want to make a video on. I believe this guy to be a heathen, but you never know. He, from the outward appearance, he looks like an Edomite. That's what he called himself. He called himself a white man, right? But the point is, this so-called white man, he's basically admitting to the atrocities that his people has committed against the blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans, right? And this video that I'm gonna show has almost Salakia 1 million likes on Instagram, right? And everybody's agreeing with him. But when we say it, we wrong, right? But when we say it, we the devil. But when the white man says it, hey, everybody agree with it, you know? And I just seen another video of a guy saying that the real Jews is black. He look like he's an Edomite, right? We may play that video too, right? So I'm gonna play a little bit of the video and then we're gonna get into the scriptures, see what the scriptures say, right? And then the points he touching on the stuff that happened to us, we're gonna go to the scriptures and address that as well, right? And the thing is, this guy, he's not speaking as the oracles of God, like, you know, 1 Peter 4:11 tells us to. Isaiah 8:20, they speak not according to the law and to the testimony. There's no light in them, right? The things he's saying is found in the scriptures, but he don't know that. Yet we know that, and we're reading it in the scriptures, but people want to look at us like we're crazy. But he's saying it without the scriptures, everybody agreeing with him. And what he's saying is correct, right? And we say this on a daily, but we looked at as crazy when we say it, right? Well, we're gonna get into this video, right?
I'm gonna say this to all the white people as a white person. We are the problem with this country. We have been the problem since day one. Since we designed this country to benefit white people. Beating black people, lynching black people, tearing out the fetuses, use of babies as alligator bait, paying Charleston to beat our slaves, to whip them and put salt in their wounds by the day. Segregation, Jim Crow, the genocide of Native Americans, the Trail of Tears, Asians in internment camps, because how dare an Asian come to America? We have to put them in camps because we have to make sure America stays white. Stealing the land from Mexico, stealing the land from the Native Americans, stealing black people on the Middle Passage. Most of you people don't even know what the hell it is or how many people died or about the bull sharks that bought all the ships because you don't care about actual history.
Right, so this video is pretty long. It's on Instagram. The guy's Instagram name is Paul for Equality, right? So what he said in the video was true. The things he was saying, talking about how our ancestors were cast to alligators as alligator baits, how the land was taken from the Native Americans, which would be Gadites, which we're going to prove that in the scriptures, how the land was taken from the Mexicans, so on and so forth, right? He talked about the Trail of Tears, you know, but the title of this video is, I believe I titled it, oh, there you go. It says, they listen when the white man says it, though, right? But we say this all the time. We looked at as demons, right, in the sight of men. So let's start it off with Ecclesiasticus or Sirach, chapter 13 and verse 23. It says, when a rich man speaketh, every man holdeth his tongue. Right, so the rich man today will represent the so-called white man, right? The vast majority of them. Not every white man is rich, but our people, they look at the so-called white man as the golden standard, right? What he says has to be correct, right? It says, when a rich man speaketh, every man holdeth his tongue, and look what he saith, right? So you see that post got basically 1 million likes. It had about 800,000 likes, right? You know, it says, and look what he said. Every man holdeth his tongue, and look what he said. And everybody's in the comments agreeing with him. But let it have been a brother on the street corners, and it's a video on Instagram. It will have like 500 likes and 7,000 comments of scoffing. But the brother saying the same thing, but he proving it out of scriptures though, right? It says, when a rich man speaketh, every man holdeth his tongue, and look what he said. They extol it to the clouds, right? So they like, yeah, that's true. White people are the problem, right? They have stolen it to the clouds, right? But it says, but if the poor man speak, they say, what fellow is this? And if he stumble, they will help to overthrow him. So you see that, right? It says when the poor man speak, and we represent the poor man, right? Let's get that real quick. In James 2:5, it says they will help to overthrow him. Like, let's say a brother may make a mistake on like one thing, but the message is clear. You have none but scoffers in the comments calling him the brother an idiot or whatever because he mispronounced the word, right? But they were saying the same thing this guy was saying, right? That's how the world is, right? It's James 2:5. It says, "Hearken, my beloved brethren, have not God chosen the poor of this world rich in faith, and heirs of the kingdom which he hath promised to them that love him," right? So Yahweh chose the poor of this world, right? Which would be the Israelites. We rich in faith though, because the promises and the kingdom pertains to us, right? So let's go back. It says, but the poor man speak, Ecclesiasticus of Sirach 13:23. But if the poor man speaketh, they say, what fellow is this? And if he stumble, they will help to overthrow him. So ultimately, this going into the respect of persons, right? And it's a sin to have respect of persons, And our people, they got respect of persons. A lot of them. I ain't gonna say all of them, but vast majority of them do. When a white man says something, everybody, he can say the same thing that a black man said. Nobody's gonna listen. Everybody just gonna get on the black man, right? But if a white man said, everybody gonna damn listen, right? Or if a celebrity says it, right? But if it's a poor man, don't nobody give a damn, because it's like, what can this poor man teach me, right? What does he know? But James 2:5 says the Lord deals with it. The poor of this world. He chose the poor of this world, right? Let's go to the law, Deuteronomy 1:17. All right. This Deuteronomy 1:17. Ye shall not respect persons in judgment, but ye shall hear the small as well as the great. So you got to hear somebody of a lower stature and of a high stature, right? You can't have respect of persons. You only listening to this man. You do what he say, right? Because he rich, but this brother, he's sent by the Most High. You don't want to listen to him because he poor, right? So you can't be like that. And that's exactly what that video is. No offense to the guy in the video, but our people are simple. They'll listen to the white man, but they don't want to listen to the brothers out there in the highways and byways, right? So let's play let's play it again.
We are the problem with this country. We have been the problem since day one. Since we designed this country to benefit white people. Beating black people, lynching black people, tearing out the fetuses, using babies as alligator bait, paying Charleston to beat our slaves, to whip them and put salt in their wounds by the day. Segregation, Jim Crow, the genocide of Native Americans, the Trail of Tears, Asians and internment camps.
All right, so let's address some of the things he said. Right? He said feeding babies to alligator bait, and that's in the curses, right? So let's read it. Right. So this Deuteronomy 28:15. Like we go into this every, most camps you have, you probably gonna go into Deuteronomy 28. So brothers is going into the scriptures saying the same thing this man is saying, right? But they proven it in the Bible, you know, how God says that America has to pay for what it has done to innocent blood, right? So this Deuteronomy 28:15, it says, "But it shall come to pass, if thou wilt not hearken unto the voice of the Lord thy God, to observe to do all his commandments and his statutes which I command thee this day, that all these curses shall come upon thee and overtake thee," right? So he said we was getting thrown to alligators, right? Our babies. Let's start from verse 32. It says, "Thy sons and thy daughters shall be given unto another people," right? So your son or your daughter may be sold off to another plantation while you still on this plantation. It says, "And thine eyes shall look and fail with longing for them all the day long. There shall be no might in thy hand," right? So your son and daughter being given unto another uh man or woman, and then that man or woman ultimately cast your baby to a damn alligator, right? It says, "And there shall be no might in thy hand." And you couldn't do nothing about that. You had to sit there and take it because we broke the commandments of God, right? So let's go down to verse let's start at verse 48. This Deuteronomy 28:48. It says, "Therefore shalt thou serve thy enemies, which Yahweh shall send against thee, in hunger and in thirst and in nakedness and in want of all things. And he shall put a yoke of iron upon thy neck until he have destroyed thee," right? And that's ultimately what the man's talking about, right? White people, had the Native Americans in slavery, they had the Negroes in slavery, the Hispanics, right? It was putting yokes of iron on our neck, right? It says, "Until he have destroyed thee," right? And we destroy mentally our mind, right? We don't want to listen to brothers. We don't want to get our understanding from us as a people. We want to listen to another man, right? I mean, another nation. And the scriptures talk about that. Let's go to right. Let's go to Lamentations 4. This Lamentations 4:17. It says, "As for us, our eyes as yet failed us for our vain help, and our watching, we have watched for a nation that could not save us," right? So yeah, that man's speaking facts, but he's not gonna tell you how you get out of the situation. You get out of the situation by you starting to keep the commandments of God. He can't tell you why that happened to us, right? He can tell you it happened to us, but not why it happened, right? Verse 49, it says, Deuteronomy 28:49, "Yahweh shall bring a nation against thee from far, from the end of the earth, as swift as the eagle flieth, a nation whose tongue thou shalt not understand," right? So he mentioned the Native Americans, the Europeans and the Spaniards. All of their symbols are eagles, right? He says, "I will bring a nation against thee swift as the eagle flieth," right? All these so-called white people, they symbol is an eagle, right? You read Obadiah 1:4, the Edomites. The Lord said, "Though thou exalt thyself as the eagle," right? Roughly paraphrasing. So he was going to send these white people against us. Why? Because we broke the commandments, right? It says, uh, "As swift as the eagle flieth, a nation whose tongue thou shalt not understand." And the Gadites, the Native Americans, or even the Judites, the Southern Kingdom, we didn't understand these damn devils' tongue. That's why Christopher Columbus, his scribe, said that he came with uh, Salakia, language translators, right? Hebrew translators, you know, because we wasn't speaking the same language as them. It says, a nation whose tongue thou shalt not understand, a nation of fierce countenance, which shall not regard the person of the old, nor show favor to the young, right? And they wasn't showing favor to the young. How? By throwing our babies to alligators, right? That's what they were doing. So this is curses from God because we disobeyed the commandments, right? And we say this every week, but you know, nobody want to listen to us. But when the white man said, okay, everybody, oh, it must be true. The white man said it. And that's our problem, right? Let's go to Amos 2 and 11. But really, you should be listening to the brothers because the prophets are the Israelites, right? It's Amos 2 and 11. And I raised up of your sons for prophets and of your young men for Nazarites. Is it not even thus, O ye children of Israel, said Yahweh? Right? So the prophets are the Israelites. It's not Edomites. So you shouldn't be trying to get your understanding from a so-called white man, right? That's just off, right? Get your understanding from the Israelites. That's the only people the Lord showed his word to, right? So let's address the other thing he said. He said that the genocide of the Native Americans. And that's also in the curses, not in the curses, but Jacob told Gad that that would happen to his descendants, right? So let's go to Genesis 49. Let's start at verse 1. It's Genesis 49 and 1. It says, and Jacob called unto his sons and said, gather yourselves together, that I may tell you that which shall befall you in the last days, right? So he told his sons to gather together. He ain't tell you to gather together with Esau and damn Ishmael. So we gotta, you know, we gotta get our understanding ultimately from the Most High, but only we gotta understand it. Don't try to go to another nation. You know, you only listening to a damn heathen and not your own people, right? Right. It says, and Jacob called to his sons and said, gather yourselves together, that I may tell you that which shall befall you in the last days, right? So let's jump down to verse 19. It says, Gad, a troop shall overcome him, but he shall overcome at the last, right? So Jacob told Gad that a troop will overcome him. Gad is the so-called Native Americans today, right? And we see that happen with a genocide of the Native Americans, like that guy said, right? Let's further prove that Native Americans are Gadites, right? So this is Deuteronomy 33 and 20. It says, and of Gad he said, blessed be he that enlargeth Gad. He dwell as a lion and teareth the arm with the crown of the head, right? It says tear the arm with the crown of the head, meaning, you know, scalping people. And who's known for scalping people? You even look it up, it'll tell you Native Americans, right? So I got this article pulled up, or Wikipedia, right? I got Wikipedia pulled up, and I'm gonna go ahead and flip the camera so I can. It's taking a minute to flip. Right there, you go. Right, so it says scalping in the Americas predominantly arose from the practices of Native American tribes, right? So who's overcame and who's known for who's overcame and who's known for scalping heads? That's the so-called Native Americans, right? And they also fit the curses of Deuteronomy 28. A nation came as swift as the eagle, put a yoke of iron on their neck. It's also pictures of Native Americans with yokes of iron on their neck, right? You know, so I just wanted to make this video, man, to our people. Hey, they listen when a rich man speak. They listen when a white man speak. But when we speak, hey, they don't give a damn, right? So this is Proverbs 28 and 21. To have respect of persons is not good, right? Ultimately, that's having respect of persons. You listen to the white man, but you don't listen to a brother that, hey, you look at that brother like, how can he know anything? He just like me, you know? How can he have understanding, right? When that's how most people look at it. They only want to listen to the white man, right? When the white man said, hey, he got to be right, right? And that's an awkward way of thinking. You have respect of persons, right? It says to have respect of persons is not good. For a piece of bread, that man would transgress, right? But that was the point. Having respect of persons is not good. You know, hey, we got to start listening to each other, listen to brothers that's on the highways and byways coming out of the scriptures, right? Let's play another video. All right, let me get one more precept for it. All right, let's go to Zechariah 5 and 11. And he's saying all the atrocities that the white race has done, but they don't hold themselves guilty. And that's why America has to be overthrown. Right, is that what I want? Salaki. Zechariah 11 and 5. Salaki. Right, so this Zechariah 11 and 5. It says, whose possessors slay them and hold themselves not guilty, and they that sell them say, blessed be the Lord, for I am rich, and their own shepherds pity them not. Right, so who is this talking about? It says whose possessors slay them. The possessors will be the so-called white man, and it says they sell us. Now we know we was getting sold during the times of, not too long ago. People want to act like slavery was so long ago. It really wasn't that long ago, right? A couple generations back, right? It's not that long ago. But our people want to act like it never happened. Some people, it was just an Eve saying that slavery never happened. The white man had destroyed us. And, some people, Christians, this is the thing about being a Hebrew Israelite. You got to be studied, right? Like the scriptures say, I believe it's 2 Timothy 2 and 15 or 1 Timothy 2 and 15, study, show thyself approved unto God, right? Christians don't do that. So it was an Eve confounding people left and right in the comments. She was like, we was never slaves, right? They couldn't dismantle it. So I simply asked her, why do we have European last names? And she was just confounded, right? Because when you in this truth, you got to study. You can't be a simpleton. You got to finish faith, right? It says, whose possessors slay them and hold themselves not guilty. And they that sell them say, blessed be the Lord, right? So they find no fault in what they do, right? Even with the doctrine of discovery during the 15th century, the European expansion, these Edomites was going around enslaving anybody that didn't believe in their Christianity doctrine, right? They say, blessed be the Lord, right? And we the ones who get slaved. This verse is talking about us. You got brothers that get killed by the police on a daily, right? Like George Floyd. I believe that man been, I don't know if he's locked up or he got out, but most so-called white people, they say he was on drugs. That's why he died, right? He didn't die because a knee was on his neck. He was on drugs. That's holding themselves not guilty, right? To what they did, right? They trying to blame it on something else. It says, whose possessors slay them and hold themselves not guilty, and they that sell them say, blessed be the Lord, For I am rich, and their own shepherds pity them not. Right. So you see that. But let's go to this other video. All right. Then we're gonna wrap it up. Just came across this video.
Lesson for everybody. The true Jews are the black people, the Hebrew Israelites, the ones that everybody says, oh, no. Some of them get lost and say that they're only saved because of their skin. That's not true.
First of all, I don't know no camp that says that. That's what Christians say about us, but it's not. No, nobody says that we're saved because our skin color. Well, if that's the case, why ain't Bob Marley getting saved? He not getting saved. Every camp would agree with that. Most camps out here says Bob Marley's an Edomite. He got the same skin complexion as a lot of us, right? So it's not about skin color. But he's on point saying that the real Jews is black. You got to take the meat off the bones, right?
Everyone is saved when everyone admits those people were the ones that were enslaved all throughout time. Then you cling to their lineage, not them, but to the father of them. Yahusha was a bronze-skinned man. The Jews of now are white people claiming to be black people. It is a lie. They even changed the definition of that in the dictionaries. But when you recognize that and you recognize that they were enslaved, then you can truly have truth so you can be accepted by the Father. His name is Yahuwah. The whole J or Jew term was coined by the Khazarians, the Germans, and the Ashkenazis. And it's a lie. You're not saved by skin, you're saved by faith. But you have to recognize what skin had it. Shem was a dark man. That's it. Stop feeling guilty and just read.
And notice how he's not going into the scriptures to prove what he's saying, yet I'm going into the scriptures to prove everything I'm saying, right? But people will listen to this guy because he has some truth, but they won't listen to us, right? Because the prophets won't be like, let's go to Luke chapter 6. And then one of the comments I seen, it says, what I was just saying, it says, so let me find it, right? So I don't know if y'all can see that, but it says a white person said it, and now do y'all believe, right? So the white man said everybody didn't believe now, but when we saying it, don't nobody care, right? Don't nobody care, and he's not. If you're not an Israelite, you're not going to be saved, right? That's not to say it's about skin color, because Ephraim is a cake unturned, right? It's about the seed line. So we're not teaching skin color, right? If anything, you could say we're teaching a seed line, right? So he, gotta take the meat on the bones with that, right? This Luke 6:26 says, "Woe unto you when all men shall speak well of you, for so did their fathers to the false prophet." So us being the men of the Lord, of course, nobody gonna want to listen to us. Of course, when we say the truth, we gonna get scoffed at. But the white man can say the truth, and everybody's applauding, right? Everybody's clapping their hands for him, Hey, and our people got to stop that. Everybody got to stop that, really. It's going to come a point to where people going to realize who the true men of the Lord was, right? Let's go to Ezekiel 20:33, and we're going to end it off with this, right? This is Ezekiel 33:32. It says, Lo, thou art unto them as a very lovely song, one that has a pleasant voice and can play on a well instrument. So it says we are like a lovely song, and it's like we have a pleasant voice, and as if we could play an instrument well, right? So like we freeze, right? So what is that saying? Ultimately, it's saying that we just sound good, right, to people. We just sound good, right? Reading on, it says, "For they hear thy words, but they do them not," right? So we teaching the same thing that these guys teaching, but we teaching more with it. We teaching that in order to come out of these conditions, you have to keep the law, statutes, and commandments, right? It said, verse 33, it says, "When this cometh to pass, lo, it will come. Then shall they know that a prophet hath been among them," right? So they're gonna know who the true men of the Lord is. It's not that guy, right? He got some. I already know he probably heard brothers. He got some of his understanding from brothers teaching on the street corner, right? But this is how we come out of the situation, right? I know I said that was gonna be the last verse, but this is how we come out of the situation that we in. Because those guys, they're not gonna tell you. They can't tell you because they don't know. It says Deuteronomy 28:1, "And it shall come to pass, if thou shalt hearken diligently unto the voice of the Lord thy God, to observe to do all his commandments, which I command thee this day, that the Lord thy God will set thee on high above all nations of the earth." Right. Uh, one more. Right. The Spirit just lead me. Right. So when we come back to the commandments, then we're gonna get out of this position we in. Right. So this Deuteronomy 30 and verse 1, it says, "And it shall come to pass when all these things are come upon thee, the blessing and the curse which I have set before thee, and thou shalt call them to mind among all the nations, whether the Lord thy God hath driven thee." And brothers is calling it to mind among all the nations. We everywhere teaching the law, statutes, and commandments, teaching our people that we the Israelites, right? We calling it to mind among all the nations, right? Going into Deuteronomy 28, it says, "And shall return unto the Lord Yahweh thy God, and shall obey his voice according to all that I command thee this day, thou and thy children with all thine heart and with all thy soul, that then the Lord thy God will turn thy captivity and have compassion upon thee, and will return and gather thee from all nations, whether the Lord thy God has scattered thee." Right? So when we come back to the commandments, right, and having faith in Yahweh, then that's when we're gonna get out of it. Then that's when uh we gonna stop getting slain by the damn police, right, by ICE agents, so on and so forth. And then what this guy doesn't know, those two guys, all those things that they mentioned is gonna happen to them, right? So this Deuteronomy 30:7, it says, "And Yahweh thy God will put all these curses upon thine enemies and on them that hate thee, which persecuted thee." Right? So you see that? So all the things that happened to us that God mentioned right in the first video is going to happen to them and their children, right? We're not going to regard their young children. You know, the Spirit just moving me. I got to prove that real quick. Psalms 137, right? This Psalms 137 and verse 7, right? We about to prove that. Like we read in Deuteronomy 28, they wasn't going to guard our old or young. And we gonna dash their little ones to the stone. The curse is gonna come upon them too. It's Psalms 137 and verse 7. "Remember, O Lord, the children of Edom in the day of Jerusalem." Right? So, hey, those guys are Edomites, which they say they white, right? So they probably know their lineage. They will be Edomites. It says, "Remember, O Lord, the children of Edom in the day of Jerusalem, who said, raise it, even to the foundation thereof. O daughter of Babylon, who art to be destroyed. Happy shall he be that rewardeth thee as thou hast served us. Happy shall he be that taketh and dasheth thy little ones against the stones." Right? So when Deuteronomy 30 says the curse is going to come upon our enemies, Deuteronomy 30:7, the curse is going to come upon our enemies. We're going to dash their little ones to the stone. Right? That's what we're going to do. You know? They got to go through those curses too. So, hey, he said that white people are the problem, and they are. Esau's the problem, and they got stuff to look forward to. But with that, Lord willing, this was edifying. Don't be a respecter of persons, and damn, you just listening to a rich man or the white man, right? You can't do that. You gotta hear everybody out. You gotta hear your people out. Don't be listening to a damn heathen, right? You're trying to go to a heathen for your understanding of the Bible, you know. But again, Lord willing, this was edifying, giving all praises, glory, and honor to Yahweh, by Hashem Yahushai, and Shalom.